check it out. We're back. All right, today I got my friend here, Mr. Daniel. We just went over this.
Negru.
Yeah,
That's it.
All right on, man.
It's a tough one, I know.
I always screw names up.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It could be something simple, but I always screw it up. All right. Here, so we're going to start things off. I have a simple question I'd like to ask folks. All right. So, how has MMA, how's combat sports, Jiu Jitsu, wrestling, boxing, anything, how has that changed your life? How has that improved your life?
So for me personally, I think I'll start off with Jiu Jitsu because that's where I first started. I was like my first love, kind of.
How old were you when you started?
When I started, I was 15.
Okay.
15, 2015, yeah. So I started in the kids program in SBG, and basically when I was a kid, like from the age of like 10, 11, 12, 13, I was very shy, reserved. I was afraid of like any kind of conflict or any type of situation. Like I remember being like playing outside and I'd be kicking the ball against the wall by myself or whatever, nothing like.
Yeah.
And then I'd just see a group of lads, let's just say they're coming in my direction. Maybe they had nothing to do with me at all, but I'd just see it and suddenly I'd just be scared and I'd run away and hide in my house and I'd wait till they left or something, And I remember thinking like, why am I feeling like this? I shouldn't be feeling like this. So then I was like, I knew I had to like kind of either learn how to defend myself or just kind of understand why I'm like feeling that way.
That's a good bit of self-realization.
Yeah, I remember thinking that like real young. I was like, I need to change something. I knew something had to change because I was like, I can't live like this like for the rest of my life. And then at that point it was 2015, so it was post Conor when he fought in Dublin. I remember my older brother was into kind of Conor. He like kind of showed me him and all, and I was like, oh, this is deadly. I want to join. And then I searched up just by chance like the closest MMA gym to my house, which happened to be SBG, the one he was training out of. I was like, oh, perfect, works out. So I remember this was probably around October time or something like that. So I kept saying, okay, I'll join next month. The next month came, never joined. Next month, never came. Then I was like, okay, in January of 2015, I'll join. I made sure, like, start of the year, let's do it. I remember I would tell my friends and, like, my family, and they were like, oh, you're, like, kind of, they heard it before, you're maybe not going to do it. I was like, no, I'm going to do it. So I remember I went with my older brother, because I was a kid still at the time, so I needed an adult to come with me. So I went with him, did the consultation, they showed me around the gym, lovely, perfect start. I think I did it on, like, the Monday, I started the next day on the Tuesday, Jiu Jitsu. Tuesday comes around, I'm in school, I have my bag packed because I'm ready to go after school straight to the gym. I get on the Lewis. Now I'm on the Lewis, I'm panicking to bits, like I'm scared, I'm like, ugh. I get off the Lewis, I walk, I see the front door, I'm like, no, I can't, I'm not doing this. I turn around, I go home. I get home, I feel like shit, I'm like, this is the worst, like why did I do this if I'm just not gonna like walk in the door? But I just felt so scared to like walk into that gym, have everyone looking at me, it was just like my worst fear. So then, whatever, I was like, okay, no, I have to go. And the next day was a Thursday. I was like, I have to just bite the bullet and walk in. Thursday comes along, same thing happens. I'm scared to bits on the Lewis. I'm like hoping the Lewis crashes or something and I don't have to go, or I miss the class or something like that happens. I get off, I do the same thing. I walk past the gym door. I start walking home. As I get like maybe 2 minutes down the road, I'm like, no, I'm not doing this again. Because I remembered how I felt when I got home on the Tuesday. I was like, there's no way this is happening again. Turn around. I remember like as I was kind of in and out of the gym, like another guy came in and he was like, oh, are you coming in or not? And I was like, oh yeah. And then he kind of like pushed me in a little bit, gave me like that little nudge. And I was like, all right, came in. Everybody looking at me, I was kind of like scared a bit, but I just like walked into the change room, changed, sat on the mat, just sat on my own, kind of just took everything in. And then from that moment, how much I enjoyed that. I think Thursday was MMA, or I don't even know what kind of class it was, but I enjoyed it so much. I remember thinking like, and it also helped. I had one of my friends from school was also an SBG at the time, so he kind of helped me a bit as well. I partnered up with him. So after that, I remember thinking like, wow, this is actually, I don't know what I was scared of. I had no idea what I was scared of. I went again the next week. Then it was, so at the start when you first joined, it was like the 2 days a week. Then like you could move to 3 days, 4 days. I just started doing everything. I started paying more money just to move up to do as many classes as I could. And then I just loved it. I loved every single aspect of it. I loved the friendship of it. I loved learning a new skill. I loved how good I got at it as well. I think, I don't know, I had something that like I just got really good really quick. You know, like I was a white belt, and then all of a sudden I'm like kind of rolling with some of the guys that are there years, and I'm like, oh, this is actually fun. I'm improving a lot, and I felt like this was a big like kind of improvement I'm getting from just like a month or 2 months of training, consistent training. And then and then after that I remember thinking like I lost that feeling of like not being able to defend myself. You know, I remember being like, okay, now if something happens, I'm not scared. Not that like I want to like, you know, fight somebody or something, but just to have that feeling of like I'm not scared anymore. That was a huge part for me, like, massive.
It's a fantastic story, and for you to kind of get over that fear kind of on your own, that's pretty incredible. That's definitely a kind of testament to your character.
Yeah, I never really told anybody like either, you know, like it was kind of something like I was embarrassed about it. I don't want to be telling people, like, you know, but like it was just kind of like this thing where I knew I needed to fix it. And it just so happened that this was like, you know, the same time that Conor was popping off, and I started watching some of his fights, and I was like, I stayed up for one of his fights, and you know, he would win in spectacular fashion, and I'd be like, wow, this is like, you know, like this is the dream, like this is what. And then it just happened to be SBG was the closest one to me, and then it's just like it kind of all just happened from there.
Yeah, no, it is for anyone out there who is interested, you know, like the hardest part, and I'll even say the scariest part, it's that first class, that first kind of showing up, especially if you don't have someone who's going in with you. If you can make it through that and you still enjoy it, it's nothing. Everything else after that it's easy.
1,000%.
You know, it's just showing up. You know, and you know, like you had said, you know, that first day that you went and you didn't go. You know, you went home and you felt like absolute shit afterwards. You know, it's that feeling is 1,000 times worse than trying to get over that initial fear. You know,
absolutely,
and it's totally worth. Even for me, like I don't really like put myself out there. Contrary to this whole podcast, I don't really like putting myself out there. I generally don't like being the center of attention, but if you can, you know, just get past that and get in there, and then, you know, you'll realize that no one's really, I mean, they might be looking at you, but they're looking at you in a way of, you know, how can I train with this person? Yeah,
you know, I think they're also remembering how they felt.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like they understand kind of what you're going through. Like, and there's a quote I think Will Smith said where it was like, some of the best things in life are on the opposite side of fear.
Yes.
Which I think is a great quote, and I live by that a lot. Like anything that scares you, generally once you get through it, it's the best feelings in the world. Sure. And past that, you know.
There's really something to be said about doing something that is scary.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
Especially if you come out on the other side and it's a positive experience. You know, you feel great afterwards. You know, and even on the times where maybe it didn't work out in your favor, you know, you still did it. You know, and even though maybe you didn't accomplish your goal, you accomplished something. You know, and 100%. That is one of the things I like to push when I talk to people about, you know, combat sports or MMA or Jiu Jitsu. Really, is you're doing something difficult with other people, and you know you're really learning about yourself and 100%. Your own capabilities and character.
Yeah, it's like a way of I don't know how to like kind of. It's like the first month or whatever, like you're gonna get smashed. You know, you have to like understand the fact that you're not gonna be successful. You know,
for 6 months.
Yeah, for a good while, like
sometimes a year. Yeah.
So it's about even showing up still every single day, even though you're getting smashed.
You know, the best feeling I had was I was probably about maybe 6 months. 6 months into just jiu-jitsu. I was 6 months in, and I remember I rolled with someone, and then I remembered, like, wait a minute, I've rolled with them before. I rolled with them when I just started, and I'm like, you know, I did all right. You know, and like I didn't get tapped 100 times. You know, maybe got tapped 5 times versus the 50 before, and it just, you notice that kind of self-improvement. And I remember it gave me such a confidence boost. I was just like, heck yeah, I can fight anybody.
It's it's that white belt mentality that you have to keep throughout your whole jiu-jitsu journey. You have to keep it, because like you're always going to come up against somebody who's better than you.
Yeah.
And in those moments, you have to understand, like, okay, instead of getting tapped 10 times, I got tapped 6 times. Or you put yourself in scenarios where like you're getting choked constantly, let's say, and then this time now you didn't get choked, you survived. You put yourself in those positions that eventually you'll start to improve, eventually you start to escape. That's the only way you can grow, and that's that white belt mentality you have to have all the way through, and even until black. Like,
sometimes I think after you do it a while, you kind of forget that. Yeah. But especially when
you can't get ahead of yourself.
If you take it if you take it really seriously, like a lot of people do, maybe you might forget that. But that exactly has that white belt mentality where you have to you stay eager to learn.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily about about the belt or your rank or whatever. It's everyone's there to learn.
Exactly.
And if you're not there to learn, maybe you're there. I don't know. Maybe you should reconsider why you're there.
There's a few of them people kind of with with big egos and stuff, but they don't last in jiu-jitsu.
No, I agree. And the cool thing about it is, when it comes to rolling, the ego is the rolling is the real ego checker.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So
there's always that one guy who's better than you.
There's plenty of times I've been humbled, by someone who I thought, someone who I thought maybe I could, take pretty easily. But
that's the thing. Like, no matter how good or big you think you are, there's always that one person who's bigger and better.
I think that's why
it's good.
I think it's why I prefer the gi, because at least with the gi, when everyone has their belt on, you can at least gauge maybe where you're at in the spectrum. Whereas like no gi, it's not always that easy unless you're familiar with them.
Yeah. No, yeah, and the gi, I love the gi. At the start, that's what I was. It's the only thing we trained. We did. There was no gi jiu-jitsu in the kids program at the time. Yeah. So it was just gi jiu-jitsu. So I remember, like, I loved it. All I knew was the gi, and then I kind of, as I got my blue belt, I started dabbling in the no gi realm, and then almost left the gi behind, which I kind of regret. I wish I didn't, because now I feel like I'm learning it all over again. I'm starting to learn the grips and stuff like that again, and it's fun again. It's interesting, but I kind of wish I kept it going from when I was a kid, because I really, really loved the gi. Like, at the time, it was so fun.
Yeah, no, with so I train gi mostly, and like some people find it weird, but oftentimes like I close my eyes, and I'm just kind of, feeling for things. So when I roll no gi, I still close my eyes, and I'm like trying to grab a collar, and then they get a sweep on me because I'm there. Yeah. No, like that's fantastic. That really is kind of a wonderful story, and just kind of how you got started there. You really you knew that there was something that you wanted to improve about yourself, and then you went about improving it, and there was a bit of hesitation. You overcame that hill as well, and look at you now. It is an inspiring story, and I'm very thankful that you shared that with us.
Yeah, I don't know, just like that feeling that I felt after going to like that first class was the best feeling I've ever felt. Like, and that's why I'm still doing jiu-jitsu and I'm still doing MMA to this day. Like, because I can't get rid of that feeling. Like, nothing else gives me that feeling.
That's awesome. What about? Sorry, so you do MMA as well?
Yeah.
And you've had a couple fights?
Yeah, 4 amateur fights, yeah.
4, okay. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about your lead up to your first fight. How?
Yeah.
Not necessarily training wise, but mentality. How did you train mentally for that?
Yeah. So I remember I had been pretty much, let's say, 2 years before my first fight. I had already been like very serious about getting into MMA and having an amateur fight. That was kind of a goal of mine.
Sorry, how old were you for your first fight?
My first fight was last year. So what must 21, 20, something like that.
Right on.
So I was fairly old. Like, I was, again, a bit tentative. I was training a lot in MMA. I just started doing the pro classes with John and Dave Roach, and I was just kind of getting into that. I was trying to get my striking up to that same level, my wrestling, my jiu-jitsu, everything, because it's different MMA when, there's punches involved. It's not the same. You can't just pull guard and hope to not get hit, so you have to learn that kind of aspect of it. As soon as I felt comfortable with that, probably after like a year and a half of training just MMA, I took my first fight. The mentality was, I don't know, I felt very confident, like very, very confident. I don't know, I just felt like I had been learning so much, and I was already a purple belt in Jiu Jitsu at the time. I felt like I had one of the best Jiu Jitsu games in the amateur. I still feel like I have one of the best Jiu Jitsu games in the amateur scene. It's again just being able to implement it on the night. Of course, that's how you know. But yeah, just kind of I was doing everything by chance, really. You know, I didn't know. I never did a camp before. I never knew how to eat right, and this, and I had to lose a bit of weight to make the weight, and this is all new stuff for me. So just understanding what works, what doesn't work. Doing cardio, doing this, making sure I'm ready. But the mentality of it was just being.
Did you have nerves going into it, or?
Yeah.
How did you beat those?
Yeah, so I remember. So my first fight actually, I did. It was a week and a half out. It was a wrestling class with Nikolai on a Wednesday. I remember we were doing some sort of throw, and then I went for a throw. I moved my back in a weird way, and I kind of tore my back a little bit here.
Oh, okay.
And that was a week and a half ago. A week and a half before my my first fight. So I was like, well, this is a bit of an issue now. I need to I couldn't train anything up until that point. But I was like, how am I going to get to the fight healthy? I remember being like, ugh, this is going to be tough. I was doing a lot of therapy, a lot of massages and laser therapy and ice baths and everything I can think of. I was throwing money at everything just to get me healthy. So kind of that in a way helped me get my mind off the fight. I wasn't thinking about the opponent or the fight. I was thinking about making it to the fight.
Yeah. Okay.
That was my goal, like a week and a half out, making it to the fight. So, about maybe 2 days, 3 days out, I knew, okay, look, I'm gonna do this. Like I feel healthy enough. Look, worst case, something happens, it happens, But I felt like I could win the fight either way. I remember during fight week, I kept a little kind of notebook, and I was just writing down my thoughts kind of throughout each day, how I was feeling. I was going on little walks and little kind of just out in nature, just enjoying kind of being with myself, with my thoughts, Yeah. I think that's very important. And I was just writing down how I felt, and each day I was just getting more confident, more ready. The nerves kind of weren't really a thing until the day of the fight, pretty much and then even just getting there, enjoying the whole experience, enjoying the meeting the referees and going through the rules meeting and getting the medicals done and all of that stuff. I just enjoyed every single aspect of it and kind of kept that mood of just you have nothing to lose. You've trained hard for this. Realistically, in my head, it was the last 5 years had been for this moment,
Yeah.
This was my goal, was just to compete, and not only compete but to win. And then just going out there and doing what I needed to do, and I thought it was one of my best performances I've ever had, the best I've ever felt. Even though I had my back was in bits the next day. During the fight, I didn't feel it, thankfully, but the next day I was in pain. But it was one of the best I've ever felt. I remember just being in the zone, seeing all the shots coming, taking pretty much controlling it any way I could. I knew that I could just take him down and submit him anytime I wanted to, and it showed in the fight. In the first round, I had mounted him within the first 3 minutes. The second round, I took him down and I choked him out, and the start of the round. So I just know I'm capable of doing that, and actually doing it, knowing you can do it, and then actually doing it is it's so good for the confidence and just for the whole aspect of winning your first fight. That just gave me so much confidence.
Yeah, that's definitely. I remember when I had mine, just coming out of it, it was fucking top of the world, and it's all that time in training that you put in. It's the payoff at the end.
Yeah.
And even if it went the other way, it still would have been, it still would have been, at least for me and how I did it, it would have been a positive outcome because it's
absolutely.
I need to work on this, or excuse me, I would know where I need to, what I need to work on, and that, what was I going to say? I know what I need to work on, and then it's still, it's an accomplishment.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, like regardless, win, lose, draw, it is an accomplishment.
I almost feel more when I almost learn more when I lose than I do when I win. Like I'm 2-2 as an amateur, and from my 2 losses, I've probably learned more and improved more.
Yeah.
Than from my 2 wins. Like 1000%. Like, because when you win, you have a lot of people coming up to you telling you you're this, and congratulations, and you smashed them, and this, and you're kind of almost getting a bit too big for what you actually are.
Yeah.
But when you lose, nobody's coming up to you. You're just sitting there. Your face might be busted or whatever. Your leg is sore, and you're actually just there on your own. Nobody's really coming up to you, and you can kind of like almost digest what happened. Why did it happen? And I almost I enjoy both experiences. Obviously, the winning is 10 times better, but you have to enjoy the losing as well. You have to enjoy it, otherwise, you're in the wrong sport. Because losses come with this game. It is what it is. So you have to make sure you're enjoying both aspects of it and learning from the losses.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess like long term wise, what is it? What do you want to do? Do you want to eventually go pro, or do you want to focus on coaching, or?
Yeah, so I have a lot of like goals, and I'm not like too particular with like when exactly I'm going to do them. I know that I'm still young and I'm still got loads of time ahead of me, and I'm still just enjoying the training aspect of it, and I think I will for a long time. I think right now I'm just trying to get back to consistent training. So like my short long-term goal would be just get back to consistent training, get back training MMA again, because this year has been a lot of injuries and just a lot of kind of hiccups and pauses,
roadblocks, stuff like that.
It's been a lot. So just kind of getting back consistent, getting back to going, every day, showing up to the gym every day, training every day, and then twice a day, open it up again, because
twice a day is hard.
Yeah, twice a day is very, very tough, and that's what I was doing for the last year and a half, 2 years, was twice a day, Monday to Friday. And then I felt invincible. I thought I couldn't be, and then I started. Obviously, injuries were coming into play, and I was getting infections, and it was just a horrible experience. So now I just need to kind of I slow down a bit, get back into that consistent training, show up every day, and then probably I would like to get a few more amateur fights for like maybe the end of this year, and then next year. Turn pro, why not? Like, I'd love to have a pro fight, absolutely. I feel like I'm only a few amateur fights away from that. I think maybe 6 or 7 months I fight like 3 or 4 more times.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to turn pro. And then I also love to coach. Like, I think coaching would be I'd love that. I'd love to open up my own gym. I've got like them kind of goals as well. Like, I want to open up my own gym, start my own Jiu Jitsu school. So I kind of have a lot of different avenues I want to explore, and I know that's obviously going to be time consuming, so you can't do it all. But I just want to try different things and see which one sticks with me. If let's say the pro MMA works out for me really well, then fantastic. I'll continue my pro career, and hopefully I'll make a lot of money. That's the plan. But if that doesn't work out for me, whatever reason, injuries, anything can happen, then I'd love to coach, and I'd love to coach Jiu Jitsu, either coach like in someone else's gym, or just start my own gym, and start a little kind of community, because I think that ultimately, if at the age of, let's say, 40 to 45, if I can have my own jiu-jitsu school and have had at least 1 or 2 pro fights, I think I'd be happy with
well, that. I will say it's never too late to have a pro fight. I have an uncle in the States who I think he turned pro in his 50s. But I mean, he's also been fighting his entire life.
Yeah.
And coaching, he's a big time coach.
Yeah.
So even if it doesn't happen now, don't think like it can't happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Open your gym, and then.
I know for a fact that I'm gonna be in this sport doing something.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do for my life. Like, I want to be involved somehow. Whether it's coaching, fighting, anything. I want to be involved. I just love the sport so much. MMA, Jiu Jitsu, combat sports in general. I just want to be involved in whatever way I can. So if that's going to be through coaching or through fighting or through whatever.
Yeah. Sorry. So you said you coach now.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you coach?
So right now I'm coaching the kids classes in SPG. So that's obviously, I've been doing that since a long time, like 15, maybe 16. I remember they needed somebody to help out, and at the time I was doing it, you know, just to help out, just because I was coming early from school, and there was time before my class, and it was like either I sit around or I just help coach. And then I just kind of started enjoying it, and I actually kind of like coaching the kids and seeing them progress. Like, you know, there's kids that I remember coaching in, like the spider monkeys, which are like the really small ones, like 4 or 5, and now he's 12 or 11, and he's in the older class, but he's like really good, and he's like, I've seen his growth, like from this small to like it's crazy to see. And then, you know, I coach sometimes like the beginner adult classes. Let's say if, like, you know, some of the coaches are away on holidays or something and they ask me to take a class, I always say yes if I can. You know, if I'm available 100%, I love to coach even beginners, like adults. It's fun to coach them, just to see like kind of
what do you find to be, you know, kind of like the most difficult part about coaching?
Difficult? I don't know. I don't find anything really difficult about coaching. I think if anything, it's like a secret kind of, because like for me when I'm coaching, I feel like I learn myself as well.
Yeah.
Because like it's different when you're like, you know, learning a technique, doing it in a round, but when you have to actually sit there and explain the technique, why you do it, why it's effective in front of, you know,
it really tests your knowledge of
absolutely, and it's
what
like
you're teaching.
There's 11 people looking at you, you know, trying to understand why you're showing them the technique, and you have to sit there and explain to them why the technique works, why you're doing it, like all this stuff, and it almost opens up kind of a different part in your mind where you're kind of thinking about jiu-jitsu differently now. Like, I'm not just doing techniques, you know, myself now randomly. I'm like, why am I doing it? Like, does it have a point? Is there a reason for why I'm doing it? I think coaching has helped me like kind of understand that. And like in terms of difficult, like I don't find anything difficult about coaching. You know, just maybe like thinking about what technique you should show. You know, there's so many techniques that it's like kind of which one is the right one. You know, like, but it's easy when you're like kind of focused on a position, or in SBG anyway. Like it's kind of done by each month. You know, so like let's say January or March, it's top position passing or whatever. You know, so you kind of have that basis there to where you know what to show them from a certain extent.
What's your kind of your favorite thing to teach, or like favorite move or maneuver or whatever?
Yeah.
I know for me, me, like, all right, first of all, I don't teach, and if I have taught you anything, just ignore it. For me, maybe get a second opinion. But I always like to show people how to do lockdown. That's my favorite
From half
thing.
guard, yeah.
And like just, I know, like for me, for instance, like I found it helpful, like if the guy's bigger than me, and they're on top of me, it really helps get them off my chest. You know,
it's a lovely,
just kind of kick them down, and it takes them down, and depending on their skill level, you know, you can do a sweep or roll from there or something like that. But anyway, that's what I like to teach, because it's fairly easy, and you should be able to get it's effective, and you know you should be able to get it, you know, kind of right away.
Yeah.
What about you? What technique?
For me, I don't know, it's hard to think of a specific technique. For me, what I like to do is I like to show pretty much everything that I show, like generally a pass, let's say if I'm passing. I always want the end goal, at least for me anyway, is to take the back and then choke.
Yeah.
That for me, like, has to be the end goal. Like, whatever, like, kind of, because, like, to me, I think that's the ultimate position, you know, like, kind of the goal in jiu-jitsu. Yeah, you can submit from side control, mount, but one of the most, like, kind of best places to be is on someone's back, you know, submitting them from behind. So anything I show, I tend to always show, if it's a pass, like if we're passing from half guard, passing from open guard, closed guard, we're getting to the back somehow. So we're either reacting to how our opponent moves. If he turns away, we're taking the back that way, or we're forcing him to turn away, or we're just taking the back. That's what I always tend to like to show. I think that's something that kind of, like, I'm drilling just like with my teammates, my training partners are always like, if we're just kind of just drilling anything, like kind of freestyling, it's always, you know, take the back, choke, take the back, arm back. It always ends up with somebody taking the back. That's kind of how, like, we start from open guard and we always end on the back. And I think just drilling that into your mind, and like kind of always having that goal of, like, because you'll see in rounds, and I'll see it in beginners as well, like yesterday for example, I was watching some of the beginners roll, and you can just see how, like, naturally people will turn away. Like, when they'll feel danger, they'll turn away, and they won't realize they're exposing their back. But it's like, it happens maybe 5, 6, 7 times a row. like they'll turn away because they'll feel a lot of pressure or danger, and they'll turn.
Yeah.
And it's there all the time. So it's about just drilling that kind of, as soon as you feel your opponent turning away or any type of movement where his back is exposed off the mat, that's a chance to take the back. So
that's a good thought process, and I know Narius has been kind of drilling that into us lately.
That's where I learn it from. Like, it's always like,
makes sense. And no, the last class I had with him, he kind of scolded us, well, me, and the guy I was rolling with. Partly my own fault. I showed up late to the class, and I didn't know exactly what we were doing. And anyway, that's a good, it's a kind of thought process to take, is to always be looking for a route to the back.
Yeah.
Regardless of, even if you're working on a submission from, like half guard or, from top out or anything, it's a good idea to have a escape route to the back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they are there. It's just kind of knowing them, like you said before, there's so many different techniques and stuff to teach, and it's
just about having that end goal, like, of course, if you see something from half guard, take it, whatever, if there's something from side control, but it's like, ultimately you want to end up on the back. That's kind of the way I look at it anyway.
That's good. I think I'm gonna fold that away and store that somewhere for me. I haven't had anyone really say it like that before, so
it's just my opinion anyway. I don't know if it's the right way to think or not.
It makes sense.
It's the way that I kind of approach coaching and approach my own. Like, I wouldn't coach something that I wouldn't do myself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way I approach it. And when I'm drilling, it's always to the back. That's the goal.
Right on. All right. So if you kind of had to tell people, maybe like strangers to combat sports or jiu-jitsu or anything, if you had to try to get one point across to them, about the sport, like, what would that be?
So about, like, kind of why they should join, or
just anything, just anything in general.
Yeah. So
why they should, or just anything. It is completely open to however you think.
I've always said, and I've always had an opinion that I think everybody, male, female, child, should learn some form of martial art. I think not only for the fact that you can defend yourself, but for the community of it. I don't think there's anything out there, like maybe football, like stuff like that. Of course, they have their own little communities and stuff like that. But in terms of like building confidence, making friends, kind of that whole aspect of like knowing how to like tap somebody out, like tapping out yourself, like the humility of it, the whole thing, like there's nowhere else you can learn that all in one place, all under one roof.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyway. So I've always said that, like, to any kind of person who's, like I was, like, shy or reserved or kind of scared of like conflict or confrontation, to get into jiu-jitsu, especially jiu-jitsu. MMA, of course, not everybody wants to get hit in the head, it's not like the best, For some people that works for them as well, that's a form of therapy, like, sparring or boxing or stuff like that. But even just jiu-jitsu, just kind of flowing and understanding that, like, in certain situations, like, you can hurt somebody, but you don't, you kind of go light, and you have a feeling of how the kind of human body works. And ultimately that will give you confidence then when you're kind of out in the real world challenging things, and any type of conversation. It doesn't have to be physical, it can be verbal, anything like that, kind of jiu-jitsu teaches, all of that teaches, like, attentiveness, listening, focus, like all of that stuff kind of you learn from jiu-jitsu. And I see it with the kids that like, there's like certain kids who are like there a long time, who you can see they've changed. They're kind of, they came in a bit like, shy and, would sit kind of far away, and now they're in with everybody and they're enjoying it and they're actually learning, and you can see they're kind of almost their character and their spirit kind of comes out more. And I think jiu-jitsu is the only kind of art that allows you to kind of express yourself to the fullest. So for like a stranger who is, struggling with a kind of any mental health or any type of, issues like that, I think getting into jiu-jitsu, starting friends, learning a new sport is also like a huge, it's difficult, but it's something to like kind of have you look forward to, So let's say if your life's not going the best or whatever, or there's struggles in your life, you always have jiu-jitsu to look forward to. Oh, I've got jiu-jitsu on Tuesday, I can't wait, or I've got something like that, just kind of a distraction. But also keeps you focused. Also, you learn skills that can help you out in the real world. You improve your confidence. For me, it's a no-brainer. I think if like for example, when I become a parent, like all my children are going into martial arts. There's no like they don't have to become a fighter or compete. I don't mind if you don't want to compete, but just learning, being involved in the culture and the community, I think it's a huge benefit in life. Like especially if you can get them in early. Yeah. Like the earlier the better, I think. But again, it's never too late to join.
No, it really isn't. I know for me, in my personal experience, the community aspect was huge for me because
same.
I came from. I kind of came from like a military background, and ever since I left, even though I didn't like it, the community aspect of military I really enjoyed.
Of course, yeah.
And two of my best friends, that's how I met them, and I always kind of struggled to find that again, and when I joined up at SPG, like immediately right away, like that, it was that, and I don't know what it was. I think part of it is it's kind of you have a community of people who are doing a difficult thing together, and you're all learning a difficult thing to potentially dangerous thing. You're all learning it together, and at different skill levels and whatnot. So like that really kind of cemented it in for me, because that type of community is something I had been looking for, for so long, and then I found it, and it was like, I'm like, yes, like this is it. So yeah, so anyone who is kind of struggling with any kind of mental health, or maybe they're feeling lonely, or whatever. It sounds so weird to say it, but like jiu-jitsu, MMA, like it brings people together,
like nothing makes you want to like when you're like when you're grappling with your training partner, or when you're even like sparring with someone. At the end of a spar, it's just kind of like you almost want to just give them a hug. You're like, we just went through whatever 5-6 minutes of trying to hurt each other, kind of in a way, controlled but trying to hurt each other. Kind of almost have that like, wow, like that respect, and that almost like you sit down after you share like, oh, maybe you should do this next time, and this and I saw this, and it's like kind of everyone's trying to learn. And it's weird, like, because you never really get that anywhere else. You're not going to get that, in any other sport. This is kind of like that weird one where it's like you're kind of doing it on your own, as in it's your own journey, or you're going up the levels yourself. But you have so many people around you, coaches, training partners, friends, who, while at the same time trying to like increase their own journey and like go further in their own path, also helping you. And it's almost like a weird little like kind of, by helping someone, you're also improving yourself. So it's like, why not help? Like everyone wants to help because like they're going to improve themselves. If my training partner keeps getting caught by an armbar, for example, I want to teach him how to not get caught by that armbar, so that when I roll with him, I won't be catching him with armbars. It'll have to make me do something else. Yeah. So it's kind of like almost that way of like, by helping someone else, you're ultimately going to improve yourself by making it a harder roll, making it like more difficult for you. I think that's like number one thing. Like why wouldn't you want to help people around you? It's almost like kind of an incentive to do it. Whether like you're not going to be coming in and just thinking about yourself and I don't want to like show anything. You're going to get those people, of course. They tend to like weed out though. Like after about a year, they tend to just
those people don't tend to stick around, and that is a nice thing.
You sense it, everybody sense it, and they just
they just kind of let it they let it run its course.
Exactly, and they just kind of leave them there, and eventually they either change themselves or they just leave, and it's because that's the thing. It's takes a certain person to kind of come in and actually do it.
Sorry, just to that effect, like it wouldn't be, the people who are kind of maybe seeing this person, they wouldn't necessarily just kind of like ignore them.
No,
that
no.
they would certainly be trying to, help them improve themselves. But ultimately it is up to the person.
Yeah, you
can
can feel it off somebody if they're willing to learn or if they're not.
Yeah.
You feel it straight away, and if they're not, then there's not much you can do. You can try your best, but I tend to just I don't waste my time. It's like, if I'm trying to help somebody, I want them to actually learn, and I want them to actually kind of accept just like I do with someone else who's trying to teach me.
Yeah.
You kind of have to give that respect. And if you feel like it's not there, you kind of just ignore it, and you're like, okay. At least that's the way I kind of work with it. I don't know if it's the right way. Maybe you shouldn't be ignoring those people, but
no. Like it's you're not necessarily ignoring them per se. It's just kind of you're almost kind of letting them kind of beat themselves up, or you know what I mean, or you're letting them not do their own thing, but you're letting them find out for themselves. That
exactly.
Whatever it is they're doing isn't working for them. But it's no one's gonna just kind of let someone do the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we'd always be there to help out, encourage, or maybe to show technique or whatever. But like I said, if the person's not there to learn, then it's
there's not that many of them.
No, yeah, for sure.
They'll switch on and
and then most of the people who show up there everyone who shows up there anyway, like they are there to learn something,
exactly,
and it like I said, the people who aren't, like I said, they don't stick around, and generally they're gone right away.
Right away, yeah.
Sorry. So this year, you said you've had quite a few injuries.
Mm-hmm.
How has it been that you've kind of been able to overcome the injury? And maybe still not being able to train, to your fullest potential.
Yeah.
Kind of how has that been for you? Certainly, it's been tough.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was horrible experience. So before, what happened is basically I had strained my LCL in my right knee.
Yeah. You strained it. You didn't tear anything.
No, it didn't tear, but it's on the verge of tearing. Basically, like I'm close.
It might happen.
Yeah. So I basically it was a nightmare in terms of like having to stop training.
Yeah.
I kind of almost, not like, I wouldn't say I was depressed or anything, but I fell almost into kind of like I kind of thought like that's it, I was done kind of in a way, like it was like something like 6 to 8 weeks of no training.
So are you still coming to the gym or?
No. I was just kind of,
oh man,
I was just stuck at home, kind of didn't know really what to do. I was like, ugh. Then I started, then I kind of got into like, I was like, I knew I needed something, like I love to train in general. I needed to do something.
Yeah.
So I knew that, like, look, I can't use my knee, I can't use my lower body, let's say. I can at least use my upper body. So I would go to just lift weights. So I'd kind of join the gym with my older brother. He was already going there. I just joined with him. Champions gym, actually, just like on the Long Mile Road. Really, really good gym. Like one of, like, I'm not a biggest fan of weightlifting gyms, like the Fly Fits and these kind of ones. Yeah. But Champions Gym, I think, has one of the most, like, weirdly nicest communities I've ever been a part of. It's almost similar to like a Jiu Jitsu community. Like everyone's kind of helping each other.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's strange. Like it's hard. Cause it's strange to kind of describe it, because when I feel there, I almost feel like I'm in SBG kind of in a way. It's like everyone's helping. Like if you just ask them if you're stuck on something, somebody will help you. It's like really, really nice community. So I remember I was just kind of building my upper body, and then I was enjoying that, I was like kind of lifting heavier. I started to kind of fix my nutrition a bit as well at that point, because my nutrition was kind of so.
Yeah.
So I started kind of going on a higher calorie plan. I was bulking up, I was eating, so that kind of almost distracted me from the knee. I was kind of chasing a different goal. I was like, oh, let's see how strong I can get. So that was nice. I needed something to distract me from not being able to train. So having that was a really, really kind of good way to not just sit at home and waste away, kind of, which is basically what I was doing for the first week. Like, it was really bad. Like,
yeah,
it was the first time I'd ever been injured, like, properly. Like I've had little niggles here and there. You take a day or two off and you're back the next day. But this was like a proper kind of serious injury, you know. And before that, I thought I was invincible. I was, you know, training twice a day. It was like just flying through everything. And then to have this happen, it was like kind of, and the fact it happened, like, it was just kind of the way it happened was just weird. It was like it happened during like a spar, and then it didn't feel like anything serious. So I kept training on it. I took a fight in April of this year. I was like training seriously for it. I remember I would do like 2 days I'd train. The next day my knee would swell up. Ooh. I'd like ice it, I'd take a day off, and the next day I'd come, I'd do 2 days again, the knee would swell again, and I was just doing that for like 2-3 weeks. And I could tell it wasn't like the smartest thing, but in my head I was like, oh, let me just kind of get to the fight, you know, stuff like that.
Let's get through this and then we'll manage it after, you know.
And then I was getting to like 2 weeks out, and I was looking at my knee, and it was just swelling up, and it was just getting worse and worse, and I was like, I don't think it's worth going into a fight, possibly, you know, tearing it in the fight and then making it a lot worse, having to get surgery, and then that's a whole year out of training. So I kind of just took the decision to look, it's not the end of the world if I don't make it to this fight. Let me just rehab it now, stop it before anything goes mad. But so that's what I did. I had to just kind of pull out, but it was kind of that stupid thinking of training on it, you know. For an amateur fight, I just didn't think that I should have done that, you know. I should have just taken the rest, and maybe it wouldn't have been as bad as it was. But again, these are just things that I learned from. I never had an injury before. Now I know, and that's why now at this moment my trainings have been so different. I approach it differently. I don't, you know, I take my recovery seriously. I'm not overtraining like twice a day every day, you know, killing myself. I'm taking my recovery. I'm stretching, you know. I'm doing
stretching is huge
aspect.
You know, it's something, and you know, I'm guilty of not stretching enough, but yeah, no, there's huge benefits to stretching. Absolutely. And that who is it, Eddie Bravo, he's huge on stretching. I think like he did an interview once where he's like he won't give like a black belt to anyone unless they can like stretch like a certain amount or way, whatever. You know, and like I think that's good to kind of have that focus on stretching. One, I mean, it helps your technique.
It's huge for flexibility. Yeah, it's absolutely.
But just injury wise, like it's critical in preventing injuries.
Yeah, you know? Absolutely. Like I've started to do that, and I kind of almost, I don't know, I take training a lot more kind of. Look, I'll do. Like, let's say if I'm feeling a bit tired from the day before, I won't go as hard, you know, or I'll do 2 rounds hard and 2 rounds light, and I'll just like take that approach rather than going in hard every single time, every single day. It's about knowing when to like kind of adjust the pace of it, and then the next day you can go hard, you know, so you don't have to sit the next day out. So just kind of learning that aspect. Also having the guys at chiropractics, they're like sorting me out really well. Like I go there, you know, maybe once every 2 weeks or something like that, and it's a huge benefit and a huge game changer for me. Just like any kind of niggles I'm having, like injuries wise, I'm just like getting put back into place. It almost feels like when I go to Jiu Jitsu, I'm getting like, you know, like one of them Rubik's cubes and get twisted into like different colors, and then I go back to them and they put me back. And it's huge benefit, like to be able to just keep the training going and just keep my body healthy, because I'm trying to keep it as healthy as I can for as long as I can to be able to train.
Very good.
So that's kind of to answer like the question you asked before. Like to get through that, I needed something else to focus on. So I was focused on the weightlifting, focused on getting, and then once I was able to start rehab on my knee, I was then focused on getting my knee better, and then slowly kind of working my way back into like, you know, once a week jiu-jitsu, twice a week, you know, slowly getting, but wearing the knee brace, protecting the knee, stretching, not doing too many rounds, and slowly but surely getting back into the things. And now I feel like I'm almost at full strength, like my knee feels perfect, no issues. I know, of course, it's like kind of a bit dodgy. Like it's probably gonna tear when, like, you know, soon. Eventually, I'm gonna have to get surgery on it at some point. But so far, I'm just kind of enjoying the training and trying to stay healthy. And that's my biggest goal right now for the next month is to just stay healthy. If I can get through that month staying healthy, I can kind of get back into a camp and start fighting MMA and start training. I mean, knowing that my body now can, you know, is at full health, full fitness, full everything. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm in that kind of post-recovery getting back into kind of competing and get back into that kind of.
I'm happy to hear that. I know that, and I'm happy to hear that you weren't like totally kind of stagnant on your time. Yeah, because it's very hard to kind of get back into the swing of things. To motivate yourself to do that, and especially going from like 2-a-days to less than one.
Yeah, it's making that adjustment of having to like just slow down when you have to slow down. And it's like understanding, listening to your body kind of in a way, and not just kind of pushing through like you're past your limits kind of thing, especially when there's no need to.
Sure.
You're not fighting a pro MMA world title, UFC. I understand if it's like the stakes are huge, then of course you can push through whatever you have to push through. But if the stakes aren't that big, and it's ultimately your overall health and your like longevity in the sport, then of course you're gonna have to focus on that. And I would much rather take these 4 or 5 months off that I have taken, from like high level competition, to be able now in this position now where I'm in now, like finally getting back into the swing of things. And
Sorry, you just competed recently, didn't you? Yeah, and was it 2 events, or was it or what was that?
It was the Irish Nationals. And
was there one before that?
No, the one before that I did was like a few months ago.
Never mind. Okay, I remember seeing those pictures. Yeah, I don't know, I totally forgot, or it just slipped my mind there. Yeah, so congrats on that.
Yeah,
so I'm happy to see that you're definitely back on the men.
That was my first competition back from kind of.
And then how did you do overall? You got, and you placed.
So I got gold in my division, so that's the 79.5 purple belt.
Right on.
No gi. So I didn't do the gi, I just did the no gi. I haven't really been training enough in the gi to kind of be going into competitions. I think let me just get back into the swing of things. And then
what was the weight?
79.5.
Right on. That's got to be pretty full category as well too.
Yeah, there weren't that many, to be honest, at this event. I think probably because of the purple belt. There's just not that many competing purple belts. Like I look at blue and I see the list goes down, and I'm like, I wish I could go in there, but it's still a good experience, and I felt very confident at purple belt. And then I joined the Absolute as well, which are the purple, brown, black, the whole shebang. And I won my first match there, and then I lost to the person who actually ended up winning the Absolute, a black belt from BJJ in town. Very, very good. Obviously winning the Absolute. But even going with him, I didn't feel like I performed that badly. I lost on points. I didn't get submitted. And,
excellent.
I also threatened with a few submissions myself. Against the black belt, I thought that was very looking at it.
Was he of a similar weight, or?
No, he was much smaller. So kind of, in a way, I had the weight advantage on him, but it was so much more harder for me to get around him and get it was a difficult match, but I didn't feel discouraged from it, if you know what I mean. Like I look back on the video and I was like, I was even talking to my coach Narius, and he was telling me like I gave him so many points, just from not really understanding the IBJJF rules set the best. Like I'm more of a no-gi sub-only grappler,
I prefer that. I don't even know the rules.
Yeah, so
when it comes to points, it's like knee on belly and sweep and takedown, and I couldn't tell you what the
so basically what was happening was he was like going into like kind of leg locks. I was disengaging by like, let's say, falling down, disengaging, and he would just take up.
Takedown. You get I know you get points for that.
So he was just getting 2 points over and over again. So I lost about 8 points from just that motion, and it wasn't even understanding. Like from watching back, I could see, but I wasn't understanding it at the time. So I think now with that approach that I have now going into that match, I think I do a lot better.
Excellent.
But first competition back to me, I thought I did very well.
First comp back, and you got a gold out of it at least.
Yeah.
And then you lost the Absolute, but look, if you're gonna lose to anyone, to lose to the winner of the overall, that's.
I was shocked. Like I didn't think he was that good. I didn't think he was gonna win, to be honest. And then when he did, I was like,
that's a testament to yourself then, because there's times where when I translate, like you're rolling with somebody and then you feel even.
Yeah.
And then to find out, they're
I've had
harder
matches in the gym, like from purple belts, from blue belts even. I've had harder matches, so like I especially at no-gi, I don't really look at the belt that much. Like belts to me don't really matter that much. Kind of just how good are you, like how much are you training, how much are you actually drilling, and that's how I look at someone's like skill level. Like there's some blue belts in the gym that are like much better than some of the purple belts. you know, like that are on par with like, you know, some of the high level guys. So, you know, I would much rather go with him than I would go with a purple belt who's not as good just because he has the purple belt.
Yeah.
No, like I don't.
I hear you. I hear you there. Here, look, check it out. I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
Appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Thank you very much.
You know, I enjoyed this. I'd love to have you back again.
Yeah,
especially either in the lead up to your next fight or maybe even shortly thereafter.
I'm thinking probably at end of the year to be back in MMA. So, 100%.
Right on, man. Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks
Thank
again.
you very much. Thank you.